What is up, everybody? Nothing. Well, this is my first video on the A-SqRd channel. If you could like this video, comment, and then subscribe to this channel and both of our channels, that would be great. This is a combined channel of me and HD123's gaming videos. So, that is that. And, I'll be doing some gaming videos on this channel, but probably not. So, anyway, let's begin the video. My top 10 favorite Pokemon. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I've been out of EV training for quite some time and the competitive field, so this is just gonna be based on me liking the Pokemon and thinking that they're cool in general. Now, there are two Pokemon X and Y Pokemon in here, as you can see. The reason being is I wanted to add some in there. The reason why they're at the end of the list is because I don't know enough about the Pokemon in Pokemon X and Y yet to really give my full opinion on them. So without further ado, let's begin. Number 10, Heliolisk. The reason I like Heliolisk is, as I said, it's a cool Pokemon. It's been doing pretty well for me. I don't know much about it competitively. I have been doing some super training with it. It learns some great moves, like its new move, Parabola Charge. You can evolve it at like a pretty good level, and that is why I like Heliolisk. Number 9, Greninja. I really wanted my Pokemon X and Y starter to be on this list. Once again, reason it's so low is I don't know enough about the Pokemon X and Y Pokemon yet. I really do like Greninja. When I first saw that trailer on January 8th, 2013, I knew Froakie was going to be my starter. And when I saw Greninja, it just supported it even more. It is the coolest looking Pokemon in X and Y, in my opinion. It learns some great moves. And it can learn some good fighting type moves. It can learn a few rock type. Well, it can learn a rock type move. It can learn a fighting type move too, which I have on my Greninja, and it can learn some great moves. That is why I like the Pokemon Greninja. Like I said, as you guys are noticing, I don't really have much to say about the EV training and competitive fields, because I'm not really into that stuff. I was a long time ago, but I've been out of it for a while, so it's hard to say, like, competitively how it is. Number 8 is Gardevoir. So I'm going to tell you a story about Gardevoir. The reason I like Gardevoir is I use it in Pokemon X and Y. Well, I am using it in Pokemon X and Y, and I also use it in Pokemon Emerald. It is one of my favorite Pokemon. The only problem I do have with it and why it's so low is it takes a while to level up, and in addition to that, it also can learn good moves, but you have to be very patient. Like, it doesn't learn Psychic till level 40, and it can learn some pretty good Fairy type moves too. That's good. It can learn Dazzling Gleam, it can learn Fairy Wind, it can learn Moonblast, it can learn a lot of good new Fairy type moves also with the new Pokemon X and Y games that just came out, as most of you already know. It's now a Fairy type, which just makes it awesome because now it has a resistance to dark. However, it is now also weak to poison, but in addition to that, it also counters poison with its Psychic type moves. It is a really good, well-rounded Pokemon now that it has the Fairy type, because it now can resist bug moves and dark moves. Well, now like bug and dark won't be super effective, but poison type moves will be. But then again, it does have the Psychic to back up the poison, to get rid of the poison type weakness. Number 7, Unfezant. This was a hard one. You know, I was contemplating between putting Staraptor, Swellow, and Unfezant at this spot. The reason is, I really do like the birds of the region. The only bird I've actually never used was Pidgeot or Noctowl. I've used every bird in every region. In Black 2, I used Unfezant. In Emerald, I used Swellow. And in Platinum, I used Staraptor. Unfezant is a good Pokemon. It can learn a lot of good moves. It has okay speed. Now, here's the thing about Unfezant, why it's a number 7. Unfezant, in my opinion, can either be the best Pokemon on your team or the worst Pokemon on your team, depending how you train it. Because you can train it to get really good, learn some good moves, have some great speed. But if you don't train it a lot, it like won't learn. Well, I mean, it'll still learn the moves, but you know, it just depends how fast your Unfezant is, and it's just kind of the luck of the draw. I've been really lucky with my Unfezant that it's really fast, like in the Elite Four, the fighting type Elite Four in Pokemon Black too, and Pokemon Black. Unfezant wiped that fighting type Elite Four out, even though they did have some rock type moves. The fighting type Elite Four member, his Pokemon did have some rock type moves. And fighting type moves, which Unpheasant being normal flying, that will do half damage to Unpheasant. Well, my Unpheasant didn't know Air Slash, and I really liked it because it was really fast. But as I said, it really depends how you use how much of an advantage you take on Pheasant. How much of an advantage you take of Unpheasant. Because, like I said, it can either be the best Pokemon on your team or the worst Pokemon on your team. Number 6, Flygon. Alright, Flygon did not make the top 5, even though I thought it should have, but then I had to think. Yes, this thing can learn some great moves. It is now weak to Fairy in Pokemon X and Y since it is Dragon, but I would rather not think about that. That's the reason. And also, when you get Trapinch, in my opinion, in Pokemon Emerald, it took me forever to get a Vibrava, and then as we got later in the game, it took shorter to get into Flygon. But you have to be really patient. This is a pseudo-legendary, so it is going to take some while to evolve, and it is a Pokemon that you have to be patient with for evolving. So, yeah. Anyway, let's go on to number 5, which is Alakazam. So the reason I like Alakazam is basically, it is a good Pokemon. You can evolve it right at level 16 if you have someone to trade with and then trade back with. It can learn great moves like Psychic, much more, well, it can learn, like, more moves like Psybeam much more early on than Gardevoir. I did use Alakazam in my Pokemon Platinum version, and it worked really well for me. That is the reason why I like Alakazam. So, yeah. And next up, we have Swellow. I'm going to tell you something about Swellow. Out of all the birds of the region, so the birds of the region would be Pidgeot, Noctowl, Swellow, Staraptor, Unpheasant, and Talonflame. The reason I like Swellow is it just looks cool to me, and it's a really cool Pokemon. As with much of these Pokemon, I don't really have much to say about them in the competitive field and as EV training goes. Even though with the new Super Training, I have been doing EV training a little bit more, but I don't really do much in the competitive field. So basically the reason I like Swellow is just it's overall a cool Pokemon in my opinion. And now let's move on to number 3, which is Torkoal. Reason I like Torkoal is just it's a cool Pokemon in general. It can learn some good moves. Now, like Unpheasant, in my opinion, just the experience I have with Torkoal, it can either be the best Pokemon on your team or the worst, depending how you use it. Like, my Torkoal was really good in the Elite Four when I played through Pokemon Emerald. And, like, I didn't use it on the Champion, because obviously the Champion's the Water type. But still, Torkoal did really help me in the Elite Four, which is good, even though, I think it got knocked out by Sheer Cold a few times, because the Ice-type Elite Four member did have a few Pokemon that knew Sheer Cold, which was unfortunate. And I honestly don't know how I can remember stuff. I can just, like, remember, like, what happened in a video game. Just really, I have, like, a really good memory. I can just, like, remember what happened in a video game. As I said, like, because I knew that Elite Four member had Sheer Cold based on the fact that my Torkoal got knocked out by that a lot, like, every time, and I had to go keep rematching the Elite Four. It was quite unfortunate, but then, you know, there came a time when Sheer Cold missed because it has a very low accuracy rate, with it being a one-hit KO. So that's that. So yeah, I just think Torkoal can learn some really cool moves, and it's just an overall cool Pokemon in my opinion. Number 2, Venusaur. Of course, why wouldn't anybody's first starter be on the list? You might be thinking, why isn't it number 1? Well, the reason is, I have a starter that is my favorite dual-type combination ever. Venusaur can Mega Evolve now, which is awesome. It can now learn a new move called Petal Blizzard, and I just think it's a cool Pokemon. Bulbasaur was my favorite original starter, so that is that. Are you ready for number 1? Drum roll, please. Dun 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 dun! And that would be Swampert. I know you all thought it was going to be Mudkip, but it is Swampert. The reason being, Water Ground is my favorite type. Only 2 games where I never have had a Water Ground dual type combination. That was in Pokemon Fire Red and Red Blue, Yellow, Leaf Green, basically all the same thing. You know, like, in Red Blue, no, because in Red Blue, Yellow, yeah, in Red, Blue, Yellow, Fire Red, Leaf Green, there was no Water Ground type, and, there were in Pokemon X and Y, but I just decided to choose Froakie instead because Froakie is awesome, and as I said, Greninja was my favorite new Water-type Pokemon, and just my favorite new Pokemon X and Y Pokemon in general. So only 2 regions where I never actually used a Water Ground type. I used Quagsire in Gold and Silver, and Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Crystal, all that, and then I used Swampert, obviously, in, Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, Gastrodon, in Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, and Seismitoad in Black and White too. So yeah, I would like to know what your guys' top 10 favorite Pokemon are. If you could leave it in the comments saying like your top 10 Pokemon or your favorite Pokemon. So yeah, question of the day: what is your top 10 Pokemon list, and what is your favorite Pokemon? So yeah, there were quite a bit of Pokemon that could have made the list, but just didn't. Some of those being Gastrodon, Superior, Emboar, Gothitelle, Staraptor, I'm trying to think what else were some honorable mentions, because there are a lot of them that didn't make the list. I also had, Archeops, and, Infernape and Torterra. Those were some honorable mentions that unfortunately didn't make the list. I had to think quite hard of this list before I put this together. So yeah, question of the day: what is your top 10 favorite Pokemon, and what is your favorite Pokemon? You can answer either of those in the comments. Please leave a comment. Please remember to like this video, comment, and remember to subscribe to my channel. I'm Epic Pokemon Gamer 1 and my friend HD123 Gaming Videos. As I said, we are a dual channel. Remember to subscribe to us on the A-SqRd channel. Have a great day, guys. Goodbye.